What do I feel most of? I'm happy to have investors and startups come together in one place. Really, it's those two worlds operate so differently, have different paradigms, and I'm so glad to bring them together to ignite conversations, to inspire people to, and especially investors, to know that you can invest with a social mission. You can make money, make returns, while contributing to a positive social mission. Investors are really excited. I just talked to one investor. He was like, "Oh, I didn't even know this kind of world existed." So he's like, "This is definitely a change in the right direction." He's really excited.
I started with the Turner team right after business school, and we started with really the thought of how do we give back in a social way, and how do we take advantage of these two different worlds of people who want to make a change and people who are desperately trying to make that change with their business. So when we really became established in 2011, it became more about bringing those two communities together. And I think the bottom line is that we're really looking for the passionate people who are really interested in making social change and social impact. And that is really why I got involved in it. And I think that we're only starting to see the beginning of the effect that companies like Return on Change and all the startups that we host can have on the world looking to the future.
I wonder if you can talk a little bit about how people in the emerging markets are benefiting. What's the benefit to them?
So let me give you an example. The best way is by example. We're starting in South Africa. We're working with previously disadvantaged winemakers. In South Africa, that means people who suffered during the apartheid era. Now that we're in the post-apartheid era, these are the first generation of winemakers who didn't have access to capital, who are just coming out of winemaking school, and actually for a few years now, and they have some experience, but they need help in getting that marketing support and getting their name out there and being able to be a player in the international wine arena. So for those individual winemakers, we're providing important market opportunities through high-profile marketing platforms in order to bring their wines to the US, get their name out there, but also become an international player. The winemakers that we're working with, they receive both economic opportunities and professional. And so I mentioned the professional ones by getting their name out there. Economics, we're giving royalties. 25 to 40% of our royalties are going to the winemakers that we're working with. So it's directly impacting them.
So tell me a little bit about your business and your business model.
Sure. So Vongo is a real-time video conversation platform dedicated to the topics that matter. We host virtual discussions and events for nonprofits so they can raise more advocacy, donations, and results and tap into an audience that wouldn't be able to attend their events.
How did that happen, and what inspired you? What brought that together? Why are you impassioned? And
Sure.
Speak a little bit about how you bring yourself to this project and how you brought those people together.
Sure. So both my partner and myself, we consider ourselves to be news junkies. And we would watch CNN and Fox News, and we would see the sensationalized stories of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West and their baby's name, which is a terrible name, Northwest. But we didn't like that these were the type of stories that were being portrayed on a regular basis. And we want to hear about Syria. We want to hear about Egypt. We want to hear about what's going on in Israel and from the people that are on the ground. So we took it upon ourselves to build a platform that made that happen. And on a routine basis, we were touching base with people in Syria on the ground, whether they were a part of the government or they were rebels, and we had their first-hand accounts and their stories, as opposed to CNN, who would find them and censor what they said and then pass it off to you.
I thought it was really good. I thought a lot of ideas that were presented are really good and they could be multiplied in various areas. So especially I would love to bring some of them in my home country. And I also thought there are like a lot of investors who are also willing to actually, get foundings and help these young investors.
What we try to do is that we're trying to build the kind of trips that the average traveler wants. Not necessarily the do-gooders of the world, but rather a person who's been working all his life and just wants to go to Machu Picchu, just wants to chill by the beach, something like that. Give them the trip that they want, just make it happen to be sustainable and socially responsible. And that's just a fact. Sustainable travel is often too expensive for the very reason it's often geared towards the rich. It's often five-star hotels. You could find a sustainable source of accommodations or activities that doesn't have to be 5 stars. Another option where there isn't actual sustainable hotels, and that's often a problem, we create every trip that we have includes a carbon offset. So this carbon offset includes all your hotels, which they're able to quantify the carbon footprint created by the hotels, your transportation, literally your entire trip already has a carbon offset. And then we source for the hotels that are locally owned. We source for the guides that are part of community projects. Our aim is to eradicate that number of $5 for every $100 spent abroad staying in the community you visited. Our current trips are on $50 or even more, and that doesn't include the donations to the nonprofits.
Because people who don't really care about the world, you're not going to trick them into like going to Thailand and doing something good because you're going to be found out. So what would inspire somebody that's really not that keen on helping people, but they don't mind, like that's the average person in America. They have a good heart, but they're not necessarily going to go out of their way. What's going to inspire them to go on this trip? Because I think the model of doing something good while you're having a great time is good. I don't think that's such a niche market. How would you get those people to come to you?
Well, it is a niche market, and that's the problem. But the way we do it is basically talk to their wallets. We're giving them the trip they want for the best price they can find, or amongst the best price with that extra added value. So, for example, the average trip to Thailand is on about like $1,800, $1,600, maybe if you buy prepackaged. We have a trip for $1,600, sometimes even cheaper, that just happens to have the donation, and it's already sourced out to be socially responsible. So, at the end of the day, it's the wallet that speaks. We go for the best prices on 3 different tiers. So you could choose budget, mid-range, or high-end. And even for people who don't want to do the full package, we offer you more of a skeleton model that just is hotels, your transportation, maybe a tour, and then an a la carte menu of options.